Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Riverhead Planning Board. Today is Thursday, March 16th, 2023. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We do not have any public hearings today, so we are going to begin with our first discussion item, which is Dish Wireless at 422 Edwards Avenue with Heather Trojanowski. How are you today, Heather?
Good, how are you? And I believe we have a representative from Dish here.
Okay.
Sure. You can just state your
Yep,
name.
Patrick O'Rourke. I work for Centerline Communications, so I'm representing Dish Wireless.
Thank you for coming today.
It's good to be here. I got to wear green. That's tomorrow, so.
It's tomorrow. I'm a day early. I have to go to an Irish event after this, so got my green on.
The planning department has received and reviewed a site plan application seeking to modify and upgrade an existing public utilities wireless communications facility for Dish Wireless. And the scope of the work to the existing public utility wireless communications facility consists of the co-location of 3 antennas, 6 RRUs, 1 platform mount, 1 OVP, which is an overvoltage protection device, and a hybrid cable. The ground scope of work includes the installation of a metal platform, an equipment cabinet, and 1 GPS unit with associated conduit, all for Dish Wireless. Just a matter of housekeeping, the second to last sentence in the proposed work should just say mounting modifications, not structural, and I'll go over that when we get to the structural and mounting analysis. So the site location, proposed modifications will be made to an existing public utility wireless communication facility, which is improved with a 115-foot, 9-inch tall monopole, equipment shelters, and pads of multiple wireless carriers. Property is located at 422 Edwards Avenue in Calverton, within the Industrial A zoning use district, more particularly described as Suffolk County Tax Number 600-117-2-8.2.
Quick question. What's VZW?
Verizon.
Oh, that's Verizon?
Wireless,
Okay.
yeah.
Carry.
The proposed action is an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA, with coordinated review being optional, not recommended. Staff recommends that the planning board assume lead agency and issue a negative declaration, as there are no foreseeable negative environmental impacts because the proposed improvements are in kind in place. We did receive a radio frequency electromagnetic energy analysis report, which was prepared and analyzed by Stephen Jakumar, an RF engineer, dated May 5th, 2022. And the report analyzed the potential RF exposure at the site from the proposed Dish Wireless communications equipment and a worst case modeling, so it includes all other carriers that have equipment at the site. And the report stated that the maximum cumulative RF exposure levels from all existing and proposed antennas from all carriers will not exceed the MPE limits established by the FCC for general population or the occupational population standards. So the site with the proposed modifications will continue to be in compliance with those FCC limits. A structural analysis report dated April 11, 2022, prepared and stamped by Matthew E. Husak, who is a professional engineer, analyzed the structural integrity of the existing tower, and the report indicated that the existing tower and its foundation both will have sufficient capacity to carry the proposed loading configuration. And then we'll move on to the mount analysis. So Dish Wireless has to install a new mount on the tower in order to accommodate the proposed antennas. So the mount replacement analysis report, which was dated March 1st, 2023, stamped by Tyler Barker, who's a professional engineer, determined that the structural integrity of the Dish Wireless antenna mounting system with the proposed equipment will be sufficient as long as they install the CommScope platform and mount pipes. So as a condition of approval, prior to the issuance of compliance, the new mounting platform and pipes have to be installed as required by that analysis report, and a post-construction analysis of the mounting platform and pipes shall be performed by a New York State licensed engineer.
Is there a generator on site?
No. I think they have a gen plug.
I'm sorry?
Number. I think they're gonna install a gen plug, so if there's an emergency, it could roll up a generator, but we're not proposing any generator right now. Dish is new, and they're the new carrier in town, and
Yeah, I think
they're
that,
going as bare bones as possible.
Still a good thing to keep in mind.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I think, eventually, I think it's gonna be a government regulation that everyone has to have backup power.
So any other questions?
No? We're all set, thank you.
Thank you.
I read fast. Sorry.
And she slowed down, actually. All right, now we have Verizon Wireless at Wading River, also with Heather Trojanowski.
And I believe we have a representative for this application as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Zalen. I'm an associate with the Amato Law Group, PLLC. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, New York SMSA Limited Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless.
Welcome.
Spell your last name again.
Z-A-L-I-N.
So another cell tower application, proposing to modify an existing wireless communications facility. This is on a town-owned water tower. The proposed modifications will be made to an existing telecommunications facility situated on a town-owned water tower on a .086 parcel, more particularly identified as Suffolk County Tax Number 600-57-1-1.5. And the water tower parcel is located within the Great Rock Golf Course in Wading River. Access is taken to the site down a dirt drive on Great Rock Drive, and it goes through an existing drainage parcel owned by the town of Riverhead. There is another point of access located at the intersection of Oakwood Drive and Gerald Street in Lewin Hills. The facility is presently improved with an 81-foot tall water tower with wireless equipment mounted on it, as well as ground-mounted water district shed, and then wireless communication shed, and other ground-level equipment from various carriers. The subject parcel is within the RB80 zoning use districts. I included some aerials for you, and the existing tower, you can actually see some of the equipment mounted on there. The proposed action is an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA, and just like with the other application, coordinated review is optional, not recommended. So staff recommends that the planning board assume lead agency and issue a negative declaration. Proposed work for Verizon includes the removal and replacement of 9 existing antennas, the removal and replacement of 6 RRHs with 6 dual band RRHs and 3 CBRS, which is Citizens Broadband Radio Service RRHs, and then 3 new twin diplexers. The scope of ground-mounted work includes the removal of 3 wall-mounted triplexers and the removal and replacement of an existing 30-kilowatt diesel generator with a new 50-kilowatt generator. No,
Take that generator and put it over its dish.
no changes will be made to the existing generator pad or enclosure, and that generator was put in back in 1998. We have a certificate of compliance. New York NEX was the one who installed it, and I believe they were under SMA Limited Partnership, so they're now Verizon. So everything is existing there, they're just upgrading the generator itself, not making any changes to the ground-mounted equipment. And all the other existing antennas and equipment will remain. We did receive a completed owner's endorsement with this site plan application. It was signed by the superintendent of the Riverhead Water District because the site is at the water tower. The site plan application and plans were referred to the water district and to the water district's consulting engineer, H2M. So review and approval from the water district and H2M will be a condition of approval for this application prior to the issuance of a building permit. Moving on to the RFEME analysis report, we received that from EBI Consulting dated January 4th, 2023. That analyzed all the potential RF exposure from the site for Verizon Wireless and all of the other existing carriers on the tower. The report states that the maximum cumulative RF exposures for all existing and proposed antennas at the site will not exceed the maximum permissible exposure levels for the FCC public or occupational standards on the ground. So once again, they're continuing to comply with the FCC standards. We received a structural analysis report prepared and stamped by James Westbrook, professional engineer. that analyzed the structural capacity and integrity of the existing water tower. The report determined that the existing water tower superstructure and the foundation meet the requirements of the 2020 New York State Building Code, and will be sufficient to carry the loading configurations for the existing and proposed equipment. The mounting analysis report dated December 19th, 2022, prepared and stamped by James Westbrook, professional engineer, provided a structural evaluation of the existing T-frame mount in order to provide verification that the mount will be capable of carrying the proposed equipment. And based on the analysis, it was determined that the T-mount will meet the requirements of the building code, and it'll be able to carry the existing and proposed antenna loading configurations. So no modifications are going to be required for the tower itself or for the mount for the Verizon changes. So I'm recommending that the planning board classify the action pursuant to SECRA, assume lead agency, issue a neg deck, and also grant approval subject to the recommendations I have outlined at the end of my staff report.
I'm good.
Two questions. Figure 1. You've got those nice yellow arrows there showing the entry,
Yes.
but further on in the cul-de-sac on Great Road, there's another one.
Oh, there is. Okay.
I see that, it looks like another right-of-way that was opened.
Yeah, the one that they use, I believe, to do all of the installations and any work to the water tower comes off of that little flag that's on Great Rock Drive.
Right, but that's why I thought, it looked like there's another one set up purposely for entry as well. Okay, the other question I have is the replacements are stronger, is that to give a stronger signal?
Yeah,
Cover more
How
area?
does that work when they do the upgrades?
So technology changes over time. Verizon needs to continue upgrading their technologies in order to be able to continue providing strong, reliable wireless coverage to their customers in this market.
That's why I don't have your cut, that's why Verizon, I can't get it.
Oh, it's not supported in this area. I hope that we can fix that.
Oh, wait.
You're trying.
Yes.
Waiting ribbon, wait some waiting ribbon, just the signal doesn't go out far.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's why we need these upgrades.
Right.
Absolutely, that's why I asked the question.
Good question.
Any
You'll
other
get lucky.
questions?
I don't think
Not
so.
for me.
No, thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Verizon.
All right, let's move on to 84 Cromer Avenue parking improvements with Greg Burton.
Thank you, and we do have Kim Judd here representing the applicant. So this is a administrative site plan application seeking approval to perform improvements to an existing parking area which is located at the site of an existing industrial use. Improvements consist of the following. They're going to add standard duty asphalt paving to facilitate 4 parking stalls and 1 handicap parking stall along the south side of the existing industrial building. They're going to add a 4-foot wide concrete sidewalk along the sides of the existing industrial building for handicap access. They're going to add a 15-foot wide by 150-foot long heavy-duty asphalt pavement area. They're going to add a 36-foot wide by 170-foot long concrete pad to facilitate 15 parking stalls. They're going to add a 17,250 square foot gravel area for vehicle movements and site operations. They're going to remove and relocate existing concrete washout areas. And they're going to install related drainage improvements to capture stormwater runoff from the site. The property is located at 84 Cromer Avenue, which is on the east side of the road, approximately 725 feet north of the intersection of West Main Street and Cromer Avenue. The property is identified as tax map number 600-119-1-30, and is located in the Industrial A zoning district. It shares its eastern property boundary with the LIPA overhead electrical transmission lines, and the other properties are shared with other industrial commercial uses. The property is about 1.54 acres in size and is presently improved with an approximately 7,000 square foot, 1-story commercial industrial building, which was issued a CO in 1969. The proposed action is an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA. recommend that the board classify it as unlisted without the need for coordinated review and issue a negative declaration as the proposed parking improvements to an existing commercial site are not expected to have any significant negative impacts. The use of the property was as a cement processing factory was legalized by the Zoning Board of Appeals by a special exception with the Zoning Board of Appeals determination dated July 28th, 2022, and I did provide a copy of that determination to the board. As shown on the plans, there are several encroachments onto the neighboring LIPA property. Those consist of a cement block, kind of material storage area, which is shown on page 3 of the staff report. And there is also an existing excavation pit shown in figure 4 of the staff report. Those will need to be remediated and brought wholly onto the project site. The site takes access via Cromer Avenue. There's a 15-foot wide flagpole, and it actually shares as a 30-foot wide common access easement. The property to the south also has a 15-foot wide flag, so access to that site for both parcels is taken over that 30-foot wide right-of-way. The application...
That's figure 5?
Figure 5, that's correct. There is no modification currently proposed to the access point from Cromer Avenue, although I will note, I did refer the plans to the Highway Department. I recently got word from the Highway Superintendent. He did note that the entrance to the property where it comes off and onto Cromer Avenue is low and prone to flooding. He would like to see additional drainage installed at that property entrance to eliminate any flooding issues from or onto the property. So I will, when we get to the resolutions, I will just add some language in there to amend that to capture the Highway Superintendent's comments. Regarding the drainage plan, the site plan does not indicate the location of roof gutters or leaders or show how the water from the building will be conveyed to the on-site drainage structures. So that's just a minor amendment that'll need to be made to the plans prior to the issuance of building permits. And additionally, being that they are installing 9 drainage rings, they need to provide cut and fill calculations in order to determine whether or not they need a Chapter 229 exportation permit from the town board. The plans were reviewed by the town engineer. The only comment he had was, please identify a site boring to accurately identify depth to groundwater for setting the bottoms of bleaching pools. The application was referred to the fire marshal's office, and they had no comment on the proposed improvements. The property is located within the boundaries of the Riverhead Water District. However, it is not connected to the water district. The plans do show the location of an existing on-site well. I did speak to the water district. There's really the water district's position was that if they don't want our water, we can't make them take it. They're not proposing any changes to the building or anything that would require a health department approval. So they're really kind of just allowed to operate on that private well right now.
Do they? I'm sorry. I don't know if you're gonna need that many wells at the base of the road there, because that water runs down to Mid-Island Auto Salvage. That going up to his property is actually going up, so don't kill the guy with, a million.
Yeah, I don't think Mike was looking for maybe just like an extra dry well at the end of the property. just to
Because that
capture
water
everything coming
flows
off.
westerly on that road.
Referral to the planning commission.
Oh,
Now, do they have a retail operation there?
It's a
Let me-
cement,
let me
it's a
ask one-
cement mixing facility.
Let me ask one question. 36 by 170 for 15 parking stalls, that's a little overkill, isn't it?
You know what, so-
That's about twice, almost exactly twice the amount. That would give you close to 30 some odd stalls.
Well, so they did, I think, when they were designing a site, when someone's designing a site plan, they take into account the existing building, the existing uses of the property. Per the code, based on the size of the building, they need 18 parking stalls. Now, when I went out to the site, in actuality, along that back row, they had all their cement trucks being parked. When I was out there, I saw maybe 5 or 6 employee vehicles. So it's really just one of these things where the site is being designed to the parking standards. If they're in the future, if the cement use goes out of business, they would have the required parking. Realistically, there's probably going to be 7 or 8 cement mixer trucks that are parked on that concrete pad. Probably the reason why it's made out of concrete as opposed to an asphalt, just because those trucks are extremely heavy. So it's really, there's no objection taken to it. It does meet the code for the size of the building and for an industrial use.
What's the use of the property to the south?
It was previously, as I understood, a waste management site. I don't know if it was Waste Management or Winter Brothers. I know they recently, the use of that, the property changed hands. I don't know what is operating out of there right now.
Do you mean the one right in front of my clients on,
The one that, the right-of-way goes through. You
oh,
know,
there's a
the
couple
shared- the shared-
properties.
the
Well, so
shared
no,
right-of-way.
the other property, so you.
This one right here?
The one to the south.
South,
of-
south.
Oh,
south
this
of
one
84.
here. That's,
Yeah,
I
I don't,
have his name, he's,
Is it used or is it vacant?
no, it's
Is
in
it Frank
use.
Fisher's piece?
no, it's not the propane distribution facility. It was previously, like I said, either a Waste Management or Winter Brothers site, I think. I know they have a lot of.
Norsec, is that the one, the,
Norsec.
Oh,
Porta,
Dorset, yeah.
porta potties,
Yeah, the
I think
Norsec.
they rent porta potties out there. It's really kind of an interesting, when you're driving down Cromer, you have no idea these buildings are even there.
Right.
You can really only see them if you're in the Riverhead
Right.
Raceway parking lot towards the back. So it really kind of tucked away.
I think it used to be the old
I know you-
Cartwright Jennings asphalt business back there years ago.
Yeah, this site used to be Agrochemical Corp.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so, and like I said, that determination, if you read through the determination, it spells out the history of this site. I believe,
You said something about the water and sewer, because I noticed that it is under that right-of-way that exists, so the water and sewer is really adjacent to the property.
it
But they
runs
don't-
along Cromer, but they're not, I mean,
Okay.
they're fed with an on-site existing well.
Yes.
If
So,
they were doing any kind of amendments to the building or change of use, I think, that would
Can
be
we get a
probably.
water quality analysis, please? Just to make sure that the well meets standards, because if it doesn't, they may want to change their mind.
I can understand if I was adding on to the building, but I'm just putting in,
I understand
I'm
that.
just formalizing the parking.
I understand. But there are people that work there and they use the water, drink the water. And if they make coffee, drinking fountain or whatever. So I
You
appreciate if
mentioned
we
about
could get.
that there is nothing with the health department
That's
involved with this.
I mean, there's
Otherwise,
nothing,
they'd
they're
have
not
to do it.
changing,
Right.
they're not increasing any type of, sanitary density, they're not changing the use of the property, they're not adding to a building, which would require a health department review. Because it's really parking improvement, so,
Are they in the
That's why I asked the
Scenic Wilderness
question.
Act there?
no.
No, they're outside of
There's
it?
no, they're not changing the use, it's not retail, it's not going into retail or anything. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, again, not changing the use of the property, so I mean, there's really no trigger for them to go to the health department. I mean, if the board would want to see groundwater quality monitoring, I mean, that might be something the property owner might want to just consider for their own operations. I mean, if I was having my guys drink well water versus the opportunity to get public water, I don't know that the nexus would be here for parking improvements, but if the board wants it, we could probably ask for it.
I think it's a good idea to get the water quality analysis, just so that they know as well as we know. if
It
meets
is a
that.
cement mixing plant, it was a chemical plant, there's
Mm,
been lots of uses across the street, up and
Mm.
down that road. Riverhead Raceway is right
That's right.
behind it. These properties on Cromer all abut Riverhead Raceway.
Yep, yep.
I just don't want to be, my client to get hit with a dirty water test from another piece of property.
You never know where it's coming from, because we don't know the depth of the well or anything like that.
But they
if
can
it's
tell
been
where,
there for years.
based upon the gradient, which direction it's coming from.
It also depends on the size of the well, capacity.
It does, but I have seen reports where they can tell based upon
Well, let's
the
put it this way,
elevation.
if there's something in the, if they find something, then it's up to them to make the decision.
Okay, I just didn't want the
Right.
board to impose upon me some sort of remediation for my client.
That's not the intent.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, but now that this has been brought to everyone's attention, if we don't go forward with it and somewhere down the road something turns up, then, where does the liability go at that point? So
To
I
the
am
client,
going.
because
Well,
they tested.
no, but if it goes back and the, this is public record what's being said here, and a concern was raised, and
It's no different,
have
if
to-
no different if it was a private house, and and they ask for a water quality analysis, and it turned up something that was bad, they turn around and say, what do I do? It's up to you, because it's your house.
It is.
So then be up to them.
I just have never seen you trigger a water quality. I'm not making the building any bigger. I'm doing parking improvements.
I understand that.
If I was doing a site plan, an addition, a modification, yes, I understand that.
Can I ask you another question, Greg? Why did they have to get a special exception from the zoning ZBA?
So that was, I mean, it was spelled out in the determination. The long and short of it was, back in the day, there was when a concrete mixing plant was a permitted use in the industrial A zoning district, there was a permit application that was made. The record of it looks to be approved, but we couldn't find any formal record of that. So the application was made, the use had changed over to the concrete mixing plant. However, it was never formalized with a certificate of occupancy for said use.
Right.
I guess when the property changed hands, they wanted to formalize and legalize the use. So they went, Kim kind of detailed the history of the property with the zoning board, and it was almost like an oversight that there was never a CO issued. So the zoning board allowed one pre-existing non-conforming use, which was technically still the last legal use, was the agrochemical mixing plant, or Agrico. So they went from a special exception from one pre-existing non-conforming to another non-conforming use.
Okay.
Again, it was really, it had been that way since, what, the 80s?
Yes.
I think it was 84.
Okay.
So it didn't change the operation, it just
Good.
legalized what was there.
Okay.
All right, so how do we, so I did prepare a resolution, and I will, when we get to it, I will include some language regarding the highway superintendent comments. How would the board like to handle any type of water quality analysis?
Just ask them to submit a water quality analysis. And the other-
I do have objection to that.
The other.
I don't think you have jurisdiction to require that on a parking plan.
Well, I should think the applicant would be concerned about it for the people that work there.
That's a separate issue.
Well,
That's a
that's
separate issue,
the
but I don't
reason I'm
think
saying
that is subject to your jurisdiction. I don't think you have the right to ask for that. I don't think the code would give you the right to ask for that. I can understand if I'm building an addition onto the building, then yes, absolutely.
Well, without our legal counsel here,
He's not here yet.
are we able to table this resolution?
I mean, if you wouldn't have an objection to tabling, I think I would, the board would feel more comfortable if we
Yes.
could ask these questions.
Another
That
question.
issue.
What about the resolution?
I would recommend moving to table it when we get to resolutions.
There were two areas that encroached
Put
on
it
the
on
life
as
of
number
property.
8.
So what was that?
You could put that on as number 8.
Yeah, so when we get to the agenda, I will, yes, I mean, we will, when we get to resolutions, we will move to table resolution number 2023-20. So we'll address that, I'll bring it up when we get to the resolutions. But the encroachments,
The two encroachments have to be.
yes, and that was in the resolution.
Or are they gonna go to LIPER and ask for,
No, we're gonna remove it. But if you look at the aerial of this whole area, everybody on Cromer, they're
It's done.
all, they're
They're
all
all
in the
done
LIPA
it?
easement, yes. But we're going to remediate that.
okay.
All right, so we'll table the resolution, we'll speak to Eileen when she gets back, and we can kind of vet this issue out a little further.
Yes.
Ms. Judd, I apologize that our counsel is not here with us today, and we were not able to rectify this at this time. Appreciate you allowing us to table it.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, believe it or not. My great-grandmother came from Ireland in 1896. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you. You're gonna wear your green tomorrow, right?
Yes, I have it ready.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to 818 Roanoke Avenue minor subdivision, again with Greg Bergman.
We do have Lisa Poyer, she's here to represent the application. So this is a minor subdivision application seeking approval to subdivide an existing 0.69 acre parcel and create two separate building lots, one being 0.345 acres and the other being 0.348 acres. The action is an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA. Staff recommends the planning board classify the action as unlisted without the need for coordinated review and issue a negative declaration. As the proposed minor subdivision is not expected to result in any significant negative environmental impacts. The property is located at 818 Roanoke Avenue on the east side of Roanoke Avenue, approximately 200 feet north of the intersection of Roanoke and Franklin Street. As I said, the property is approximately 30,199 square feet in size, has about 100 feet of frontage on Roanoke Avenue. The property is about 300 feet deep and extends all the way through to and has about 100 feet of frontage on Pondview Road. The property is presently improved with an existing two-story single-family dwelling. The Roanoke Avenue corridor and the surrounding area is generally described as a mix of residential and commercial uses, with most commercial uses operating on Roanoke Avenue out of converted single-family residences, while the Pondview Road frontage is an entirely residential community. The property is somewhat unique in that the entirety of the property is located within the Business PB zoning district, which is the Professional Business Zoning District. If you look at the zoning map on Figure 2, you can see that this parcel is sort of the odd man out. The Pondview Road frontage, that entire area, that entire road is zoned Residence A40 on both sides of the road. However, because this property goes all the way through to Pondview, the entire property is located within the Business PB zoning district. So, as of right, they could develop this site with an existing, with a commercial, like a professional office, a medical office, and they could use that entire property. So you could be potentially looking at a site where you're gonna have a professional office sort of extending into the residential zone. So what this application is proposing is to basically split the property down the middle, keep the 15,000 square foot parcel on Pondview Road. I do recommend that one of the conditions of approval be that the site can only be improved with a single-family residence, which is permitted in the Business PB zoning district. I spoke to the applicant, she spoke to the property owners, they had no objection to that
They
proposal.
have to go to ZBA, you said?
So they do have to go to ZBA. I did provide Ms. Boyer with the denial application, the denial letter, so she can go to the zoning board. The zoning board did request a copy of the staff report, so I will provide it to them. They are seeking variances because the lots are 15,031 square feet and 15,168 square feet, where 40,000 square feet is required. Although you note, again, looking at the zoning map, the creation of these parcels would really be in character with all the existing lots in the area. Access to the site is currently taken from an existing curb cut on the east side of Roanoke Avenue. There is no proposed modification to the existing access, although I did refer the application to the DPW for comment. If at some point they do wish to convert that Roanoke Avenue property to a commercial use, they would need to come in for a site plan, and any modifications would be handled at that point. I did refer the applications to the Riverhead Water District and the Riverhead Sewer District. They both had pretty standard comments. Applications would need to be made for such. Key money would be paid for to the Riverhead Water District and the Riverhead Sewer District. They would need an application. The existing residence is connected to water in the Roanoke Avenue right-of-way and sewer in the Roanoke Avenue right-of-way. And the application, if they build a single-family residence, would take access to water and sewer from Pondview Road. The application was referred to the Suffolk County Planning Commission, and I did get a response back yesterday. They consider it to be a matter for local determination. So at this meeting, we do have a resolution on to classify the action pursuant to SECRA, assume lead agency, and issue a negative declaration so that the applicant can proceed with the Zoning Board of Appeals application. If the ZBA grants that relief, we can then move forward and schedule a public hearing on the application.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. I think this subdivision actually makes, pretty good sense, but I'd like to see it posted on Roanoke Avenue and Pondview, because people that live in that Pondview probably never pass, that section of Roanoke Avenue.
So it's posting for the public hearing?
For the
That's fine.
public hearing.
We'll make sure we'll give them multiple posters for the ZBA
Yeah.
and for the subdivision here.
And the property owner has no problem with the restriction?
No, I've spoken with the property owner, and they have no objections to that. That's what they're planning on building there.
That's good.
It makes sense.
Yes.
The one thing I did further in the report, which Ms. Poyer did provide, just to make sure that we're not kind of like cutting our nose off to spite our face, to provide a conceptual site plan for the lot on Roanoke Avenue. In the event they do want to convert it to a professional office or medical office, basically just kind of like a rough sketch plan demonstrating that they could provide enough parking on site, so that way we're not creating a lot that then would need another variance down the road. I had kind of informally sketched it out. It appears as though they can definitely meet the required parking at the 1 per 150 for professional office. I would just ask that they provide a formal, most
They could do it now.
That's a good point.
Again, they could do it now, but I just wanted to make sure that when they cut the property in half,
Right.
that they could fit that parking on that property. Yes, as of right now, they could build the whole thing, but just want to make sure we're not, creating the need for further variances.
All right, very good.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we will move on to Riverhead Logistics Center, again with Greg.
I left it in the car.
Is it green?
Tomorrow.
So we have Chris Kent, Farrell Fritz, attorney for the application, and we have Sean Harkin from SoundSense. So this is just a follow-up on the Riverhead Logistics Center site plan application. As you're aware, the planning board issued a positive declaration, required the preparation of an environmental impact statement. We went through scoping on this application. The board adopted a final scope. Within that final scope, it detailed a number of locations that would be identified and be used for both long-term monitoring as well as short-term monitoring. I did provide just a color image, it's printed on both sides. It shows those locations of the long-term monitoring and short-term monitoring. Being that the board really is in charge of the EIS process, we did have conference calls with Sam Schwartz, who's the planning board's consultant on this application. We had a conference call with Sam Schwartz as well as with Mr. Harkin to discuss really the methodology of the noise study. The thought process was, rather than have them prepare all and compile all this data, submit a draft EIS to the board. If it was then found to be deficient, it would be rejected. They'd have to go and amend it, and then it would just kind of lead to further delay. So we had a conference call to make sure that everybody was on the same page. SoundSense prepared what's called a noise methodology, and it basically details the science behind what they're studying, why they're studying it, how they're studying it. So the applicant prepared that. They submitted it to the planning department on February 28th. As soon as I got it, I sent it out to Sam Schwartz. They reviewed the methodology. They provided feedback, which I had forwarded out to the board. We received their comments on the 13th. What we ended up receiving was a lot of technical data and a lot of technical points referring to the specifics of how that study was going to be done. And what I did was I followed up with Sam Schwartz to understanding the technical data and the technical components that would need to be tweaked and amended. I wanted to get confirmation that they were okay with the proposed locations for the long-term and short-term monitoring. I did receive a response back from Sam Schwartz on the 14th that said they were good with the proposed long-term and short-term monitoring locations. So the purpose of this is to really just bring it before the board, make sure the board is okay with the proposed locations, which is in conformance with the final scope, and kind of just get the blessing for the applicant to continue on with their sound study.
Yeah, I don't have a concern with the locations that you picked out. My concern is that these are uses that were never studied in the master plan. We have a new master plan coming, or we put in the cart before the horse here. I mean, what are we really going to be studying? I'm not sure if this is ever going to go there.
Well, we're studying the, what they call the ambient noise levels at this point.
Right, so what we're looking at this point is we're doing ambient noise data collection and data collection that's going to be used in the mathematical model that's going to be constructed. That's really what this is about today. As far as overall in the noise study, there's different evaluations, even independent of the town of Riverhead and the noise code criteria that we're going to be looking at. There's recommendations and guidance from the New York State DEC that discusses what is and is not an impact in regard to increase in overall noise level, as well as from the New York State DOT from increasing traffic-related noise. So at the bare minimum, we're looking at that, and to your point about master plan and if there's any other uses, that holds for anything, right? The other thing that we're going to be looking at is Town of Riverhead noise code compliance. There's two portions of the noise code. There's requirements for maximum noise levels to the residences that are nearby, and there's also construction-related noise code as well, and we're looking at all of that.
And the
These
model-
the collection they're doing now is ambient noise, the noise that
Right.
exists, the
And
existing noise.
that goes into the model, and the model already has existing data from operating facilities.
Correct.
Is that correct?
So this data is used to establish the background sound levels.
Right.
And then it's all fed into the model to create a model for what is existing in the area. And then everything for future use construction is compared against the model for the existing.
Where was the model, what was the model property to establish the model? What was the model property? Was it in New York? Was it in, is it just, in other words, it's real numbers, correct?
It's real numbers.
Okay, so from where was it derived? Where were the noise levels
facilities?
derived? At what facility?
So it's going to be dependent on the noise levels that are collected around the area, and then a traffic model is generated to generate traffic prediction. We can only collect at a certain number of areas. All of those data collection points are used to validate the model. It's a 3D, highly sophisticated computer model that the town's consultant is providing comments on the methodology as far as the construction of that model, but it's constructed in that
Right, so
program.
it's really not one, it's several that you're actually drawing from what I think you're telling me.
Yeah, there's a number of different methodologies that are used in the model. There's a lot of different.
For example, this facility is 600 to 70,000 square feet. I remember the drawings, there were a lot of different levels of trucks at different, all around the building.
The proposed size is 641,000 square feet.
Yeah,
That's what
right.
the proposal is now, currently in the plan. What we're asking for today is approval
Oh,
of the
I
locations
know.
where we're collecting the existing noise levels. The
We're just
collection
trying to collect
point.
information
We
from
were
you.
just trying to learn a little bit about how you come up with it, so that we can make a better informed decision.
Right, can you explain exactly how you pinpointed exactly where the markers are on
Sure.
what we're looking at? How did you determine that this is where your sound points are going to be?
So some of that came from comment from, I believe, this board in the scoping process, that there was direction from this board that we collect at the Long Island Expressway and at the property line that borders up with the Suffolk Cement property. We knew that we also wanted to collect near Middle Road, and I believe there was further guidance for a request to collect additional information at the northern property line that is by the LIPA,
By the transmission towers.
by the transmission towers that are there. For the short-term monitoring collection, we wanted to collect noise in different areas. One point in particular was, I want to make sure that I use the correct number, short-term monitoring location 3, that was a very, short-term monitoring location 2 was very important with the seminary, the monastery that is close to there. That is, from a technical perspective, one of the most sensitive receptors nearest to the site. So it was very important that we collect some information there. And then we wanted to collect some additional information from areas that are further from the specific project site that the long-term monitoring data wouldn't give us insight to.
Perfect, Sean, thank you for explaining
Just
that.
follow up on something with regard to the model. Is there information in the model which, from previous facilities, that show what the noise level is when trucks are idling overnight, things of that type of monitoring information that can be compared to what we're going to have?
So any type of sound source can be put in the model as long as we have something to pull from. So we can put anything in the model as far as that's concerned. Trucks idling, there's certainly standardized sound level data that can be included. I know as far as the types of sources that are going to be included, that's something that we're coordinating with Sam Schwartz as well to make sure that they're comfortable with all of the types of sound sources that are included there. The first step is that we need to finish the ambient data collection in order to complete the model and then complete our findings, right? I don't have any
Then you
findings.
provide various scenarios for the model itself.
Correct.
They're incorporated into the model to determine the sound levels that would occur once operational.
Like I said, I think so, like the concern, like, so the noise models that you come up with, like, it'll incorporate, like I said, truck idling, like backup noises, like HVAC equipment, like, it'll factor in the operations of a logistics center or a warehouse across parking lots.
Yes. It's going to factor in the proposed operation, and we are also going to evaluate the alternates. Anything that is proposed in the environmental impact statement, we are going to be looking at the sound levels that are associated with the proposed actions.
This is all to collect information for significant impacts that would have to be mitigated. That's why this is all being done. We're doing the draft environmental impact statement to determine what impacts will need to be mitigated. So we don't know what those are yet, but that's what he's going to be determining.
Exactly.
All right, I just want to be clear that this does not mean that this project is moving forward. This is only to make sure that you understand that we are agreeing to the noise study.
That is exactly
And that's
what-
it. I don't want anybody to get carried away and think,
Oh,
okay,
yeah, no. This is just simply
We're moving, 'cause it's
agreeing
not.
upon the locations from which we'll collect data on ambient noise, current noise levels.
Okay.
I mean, we're gonna get, I trust that we're gonna get a stack of binders probably about this thick. So when we do get that, there will be plenty of opportunity for the board, for the public, that this is gonna be well reviewed.
Okay,
So we can move forward with those locations that are agreed upon by your consultant, offered by our consultant and agreed upon by your consultant.
Go.
I agree to this.
All right, great, thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right, at this time, do we have any public comments on the resolutions? All right,
Resolution 19, which is Dish Wireless.
Second?
sorry, vote please. Bear?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes.
Nenaro?
Aye.
Nacesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
I would ask to move table resolution 2023-20 for 84 Cromer Avenue until we have Eileen here.
Make a motion to table resolution number 20 for 84 Cromer Avenue parking improvements. So moved.
Second?
Vote please. Bear?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes.
Nenaro?
Aye.
Nacesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
I'll move resolution 2023-21 to 818 Roanoke Avenue minor subdivision to classify it, classifying an accident to assume lead agency and issue a negative declaration for a minor subdivision, so moved.
Second the motion?
Vote please. Bear?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes.
Nenaro? Nacesky?
Aye.
Woski? Yes. Excuse me, I think that Greg would...
Yeah, I would also ask, I spoke with Mr. Israel this morning about the Cauliflower Association resolution. I would ask again that we table that resolution.
So moved.
Second the motion?
Vote please. Bear?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes.
Nenaro?
Aye.
Nacesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
Move resolution number 23, Verizon Wireless at Wading River. So moved.
Second.
Vote please. Bear?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes.
Nenaro? Nacesky?
Aye.
Woski, yes. All right, do we have any public comments on all matters? Okay. Can we
Move
move
the minutes of February 16, 2023.
Second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Other business? Correspondences?
I have a question for Greg before he runs away.
He almost got
I
away.
sent you an email. You had sent me the map from Moto.
Map of what?
Moto, the motor plate.
Oh, Moto? Yeah, I
Yes.
think that's
And
Matt's
Matt.
application.
Oh, it's Matt? Oh, okay, Matt.
So I can run away then.
Yeah.
Let me see.
You sent me the map, and the question I have on the map is, around the perimeter of the, is this a little, looks like a roadway.
Existing trail.
What is that? Is it existing?
Yep.
Well, that's what they're using now, just to go around the outside?
They use this to ride, and this is kind of like an access trail they need to get to.
All right. Our next meeting is Thursday, April 6th, 2023 at 6 PM. Everybody have a very happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. And I have a motion to close the meeting.
Top of the morning.
Very
top of-
happy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Joy?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I hope you get good weather.
you. Me too.